listening to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
Good morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, a beautiful morning to you wherever you're locked on to Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos, the 13th day in the month of June 2025. One to believe after the holiday yesterday. Oh, well, whilst, most people actually want us to extend the holiday till Friday, and then let's just have the whole holiday starting from yesterday and then the whole weekend till Monday. But we have to get back to work. Yes, holiday is over. I wish to sing that song, but really, holidays are over. So you welcome to Mainland 90.3 FM, the Morning Express, and most importantly, trends in the papers. On this dial, this is where we go through, peruse, and holistically look at several happening situations, developing stories, and things that have happened so far from yesterday or from the beginning of the week, developing stories so far, and of course see what is happening in our dealings this morning, while we keep you abreast and keep you updated on happenings and what is going on in the country and even outside the country. My name is M쏘ɪᴟᴜ, and you're welcome on board once again. TGIF, thank God it's Friday, and I'm tempted to say that it's Boxing Day for Democracy Day yesterday, but anyway, that's just on a lighter note. Regardless, I was on my way to work this morning. I spotted a woman in a car and the daughter. I guess they were going somewhere very quickly this morning. The security personnel that she forgot her bag at home or somewhere. I just heard she forgot her bag and that she would have tendered the document. Probably they asked for a document or ID, and then she was like, she forgot it, and then that's why she's unable to present that to them. And just I'm saying this just to, the radio is for us to inform, educate, and remind ourselves the necessary things. And so it just struck me that I should mention this morning that wherever you're going out, make sure that you are with your eyes. Make sure you don't have the situation or scenario to give excuses for not going, about with your required document, because anything could happen actually. You could be in a hurry, you could be whatever it is. Just make sure you prepare yourself for unforeseen circumstances. That's that about that. And of course, yesterday, June 12, we had a significant shift to celebrate 26 years of unbroken democracy. Both for, against, people have been given, several submissions about democracy and what truly, what democracy should be since the takeover of civilian rule from the military rule. And so speech of the president, which they moved from the Eagle Square to the National Assembly, joined today over 242 passenger London-bound aircraft, Indian Air, and all of that. But just hold on, don't worry. You're welcome on board once again. My name is M쏘ɪᴟᴜ. You can join us right on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM to enjoy an audio-visual one. Just go Mainland 98.3 FM, and then you'll be able to listen to us live from the studio. You can also listen live via Radio Garden, and as well, you can go through or listen via our website, www.mainlandfm.com. We'll be joined by Side Forward as always to holistically look at. I'm sure that he has reservations, he has perspective to give about the stories that we have. How are you doing for too as well, TGIF?
Yeah, doing very, very good.
Why were you not present at the National Assembly? Oh, you didn't hear your name? I heard your name in case. maybe by not the president.
We congratulate the heroes of democracy that were honored yesterday by Mr. President. Some of them posthumously, those that have passed on. Women has apologized for the gain. These are mistakes that should not happen. Really, job was thorough and properly done. But it is what it is. I'm sure we're still going to have a proper conversation.
Of course.
On this.
There are several
occurrence of the plane crash of Air India. It keeps coming to mind. It just goes to show the reality of life, how transient life can be. 242 passengers. A lot comes to mind for anyone that understands the number of planes that fly on a daily basis, especially when it comes to international travel. Transport experts, transportation experts will tell you that the safest form of transportation is still air travel. That it is the safest, it's still the safest of all means of transportation. But the fatality rate, when anything happens, it's what gets several real issues that have happened,
right.
And all of that. But for Air India, it calls to question safety standards, especially for the Boeing aircraft. There's been a lot of them tell you that most of these issues don't happen with the Airbus, but they say for Boeing. 242. I look at
the kind of trauma, the kind of lifestyle after work.
It looks like a man who was shocked and like
more than surprised.
Because
Dead bodies over him.
He only had bruises. Lady Mo. Because again, according to the report, the plane took off from the airport just 2-3 minutes after crashed into a medical school, a hostel of I think female medical students. She would have seen about 5 of the female medical students were in the hostel, and then about 241 or so other people were killed in the crash. But for one man to walk out of that crash with just a bruise, not that he was rescued unconscious or he was in coma, he was on his feet. God is a wonderful God. That's like somebody said, before you know that, some people can start to go and worship that. But it just goes to show that look, when your time is not,
it's not ripe yet.
It's not ripe yet. Nothing can happen. If you get into that kind of situation. But a lot of concerns for international travel, really. These stories of Boeing aircraft, terrible times in the last 1 year for the aviation sector. It's been really, really bad. Number of plane crashes and aviation accidents that has been recorded. But that of yesterday really calls to question the safety of the
victim as well of the plane crash. I think a family, the husband, the whole family. Yeah. I think the husband,
wife
just
and I think 2 children
planned relocating. After much of trial and all of that to relocate, and then it now clicked, and then they decided reported that even have been found on the front pages of newspapers this morning. While we have that, the Guardian captures trends in the papers. On Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. My name is Mᴏᴜ. Join us live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM, our website, www.mainlandfm.com. Of course, we'll be having several sites, like we earlier mentioned, several discussions, debate about the reactions, mixed feelings of the June 12, especially the speech of the President, Bola Ahmed, to the front page of the Punch newspaper. Is also about the commissioning. We've talked about the 19 days, of course, the FCT 19 days for key infrastructure project commissioning to mark. So the larger parts of the front page of the Punch is also a welcome address to commission the newly constructed left-hand service carriageway of Outer Southern Expressway Stage 2 from Ring Road 1 junction to Wasa Junction. That's just that, of course, courtesy of the FCT Minister and Minister of Safety, which has been greeted with mixed reactions of concerned Nigerians, governors, politicians, citizens, average Nigerians. Everyone have been talking about several issues have been raised. The fate of the heroes who had fought and championed the cause of democracy, 26 years of unbroken democracy, and even still fighting for democracy. That what is the continuous fate of the heroes that have championed the cause and are still championing the cause of democracy. Even even comparison have been done yesterday to other developing countries for those that are also practicing democracy and also not practicing democracy and still have the country put together or being put together, of course, in a progressive form. And also the question on the true concept of democracy have been talked about. Also the inclusive and people-oriented democracy, have we had that over the years, 26 years? And also the disconnection. There's also the debate about the disconnection of this present, youth or younger generations with the concept of democracy, having clear understanding of what democracy is all about and not be left out. And also the culprits in the breakdown of democracy over the years, the drowning of institutions that are supposed to uphold the concept of democracy, the effort so far of even leaders after the takeover civilian rule to magnify the concept of democracy, and several issues actually. But we'll take it one after the other, and Fouad will be giving us just brief perspective to the several angles which we will be looking at this morning. Yesterday we had the speech by the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yesterday, he spoke about several issues. He also conferred national honor to people yesterday. And so let's start from that angle first. The Punch had captured this morning. Okay, saying that, I beg your pardon, give me... the Punch is yesterday actually had attracted, according to the Punch, and knocks, attracted praises and knocks for the list of honorees he announced as democracy heroes. And while some Nigerians laud the president for his tribute to the heroes of the June 12, 1993 struggle, others lamented that the key names were conspicuously omitted from the list. The late Moshood Abiola definitely was named winner of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, regarded as the freest and fairest in the country, which was annulled by the military under General Ibrahim Babangida. Following the annulment, several prominent Nigerians who spoke against the military decision were killed, incarcerated under frivolous charges, while others went on exile for fear of being, hounded and all of that. And of course, the president, in the exercise of his powers on yesterday, bestowed national honors on activists, journalists, scholars, and fallen pro-democracy icons. And he also granted a presidential pardon and conferred honors on the Ogoni 9, led by Ken Saro-Wiwa, who was executed on November 10, 1995 by the military junta. But just quickly, in summary, for just this aspect of the praises and knocks about the honors, some had talked about some names that have been omitted and all of that. But what's your take? What's your reaction to the honors, both posthumously and those that are still alive? What's your reaction to that? Let's start from that angle first, and then we move to other angles.
Okay, let's so we don't waste a lot of time on this particular story. The list of those that have been honored are out there for everybody to see and peruse. It was a long list. The president took his time to read out all the names. Like I just told you, there was an apology on listing Fᴜᴜ on the posthumous list of honorees. So as a proper honor to these heroes of democracy, those that are still alive and those that have lost their lives or that have died. I think the biggest honor that you can give to those that have been considered as the heroes of our democracy, heroes because they did a lot. Some of them sacrificed their lives. Some of them were in prison. Some of them had to go on exile for us to return to democracy. The president also being a part of that entire principles, values, and tenets, strengthen them of what makes a functional democracy. Whether it is GCON, OON, CON, or anything, national honors will never end. It didn't start with this president. It will not end with this president. In fact, there have always been consistent calls and questions as to what value these honors really have. When I say value, it's not just in the naming of people and giving them this honor. It is in what it represents really as a legacy behind what these people stand for. So Yes, a long list, Professor Wole Soyinka, late General Alani Akinrinade, and a lot of people too who had made that list, a long list actually. Some were omitted. We're going to talk about why anybody would have, because these were even some of them associates of Mr. President, so it could not have been a mistake. This could be regarded as deliberate omission, and I'm going to come there. But for those who have been honored, given the national honor, well, a good one that at least, the sacrifice that a lot of them made, some of them with their lives, are being remembered. But I think that the best way to honor them, the most important honor, the most valuable honor would be for Mr. President to ensure that this democracy does not fail under his reign. We're going to talk about a lot of concerns, really, about our democracy under this president. But again, why would anybody, for example, in that long list of the heroes of democracy, have omitted the name of Senator Babafemi Ojude, for example? Why would anybody, for example, have omitted the name of Bob D. Dele Momodu? Because again, one of my guys was listed. I said, they even remember. I'm talking about the publisher of City People magazine, Mr. ʶᴏᴜ. So those omissions now appear that, look, they were deliberately omitted because these are guys who, quote unquote, are not in the good books of the president. These are guys who currently have political favoritism. It is about, once you are not on my side, even though you were one of the heroes of democracy by the things you did in the past, will not add your name to the list. So that in itself, political, if you are not aligned to me, if you are not with me, even no matter what you do, will not put you on the list. But again, that in itself is not as important as if there was one person that was on the street coordinating the students that was being tear gas, that did everything at that time, one of the strongest student union associates of the late Moshood Kashima Olawale Abiola. That has to be a issue. Why was he not on that list? Democracy. So, but again, I'm sure that on political roundtable we are going to expand this conversation on Monday.
Right.
We'll talk really about the
omissions and
the implications of the honors and what have you. But I think that the biggest honor that can be given, to our heroes of democracy, is for this president to uphold what is one party.
Yes,
I'm going there. About that. I don't know whether you have it. Okay, let's
definitely, and then we'll just know. Anyways,
well, for not Nigerians who lived through that era,
right,
should also have been honored. And because you can't give this UN, and everything to everybody in Nigeria, the only way to honor those that were tear gas, don't know about just
no, of course I didn't miss that.
But some of us lived through that era where we had to go and look for sawdust to cook. And at that point, that cooking thing was called abacha stew. So for every Nigerian who lived through that trauma of the uselessness under abachas as head of state, starting from Babangida himself, also deserves that honor. And the honor is simple. Nobody's looking for any GPN or ON. Just ensure that this democracy does not fail. Give the people the dividends of democracy. Let their lives be better. Let them now enjoy what democracy they had hoped for was going to give to them. As we stand, look, after 26 years, people are still wondering whether it was better for us to have remained under the military. And there's a problem. So everybody cannot get GCON or ON or GCFR or all those The most important thing to honor Nigerians who also suffered during that struggle to return to democracy is to make democracy work for the people, not just a few friends and associates of Mr. President.
All right. Of course, that very story, the conversation truly has been the true concept of democracy. 26 years of uninterrupted democracy. Do we truly government of the people, by the people, and for the people? And after 26 years, still counting, can we, boastfully say that? or be boastful of the fact that we are going in that line or towing that line. Page 2 captures the knocks and kudos given to Tinubu's honors. June 12 newspaper is capturing Democracy Day fireworks. That's it captured that. Tinubu and opposition trade blows. Of course, yesterday the president gave or made a statement or which triggered the opposition, so to say, in his words, or according to the president, saying that it is a pleasure to him to watch the opposition be in the newspaper has that very angle. And I will bring it from several angles as well. Punch says from one angle, no, beg your pardon, Atiku Abubakar and the Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Mr. Peter Obi, had accused the administration of President Bola Tinubu of eroding the ideals of the country could no longer be considered a functioning democracy under the present administration. And also, speaking about the statement credited to the president and saying that he's happy that the opposition criticized the president over his remark, expressing satisfaction at the prospect of a divided opposition. During the address to a joint session of the National Assembly and the Nigerians in commemoration of Democracy Day, the president said that it was a pleasure to watch the opposition. Through his media aide, Paul Ibe condemned the president's remarks as reckless, accusing Tinubu of running the country like a civilian dictator, and also reacting the publicity secretaries of the PDP, Debo Ologunagba, and the NNPP, Oladipo Johnson, in separate interviews also called on President Tinubu to focus on governance and stop interfering in the internal affairs of opposition parties. Just not to take much of our time. The president yesterday, of course, during his speech, spoke about the opposition as saying that, well, he's happy about that, though he spoke about one party not supporting or is in that position. And we've had reactions about that. And people have raised questions about, is that statement even, does it portray true democracy that we are celebrating yesterday? Now, I want you to react to that, as also a senator that also raised the Rivers State issue, that yesterday was the right time for the president to have taken the significant bold step to also make sure that we maintain democracy back to Rivers State. Forward quickly.
All right, let's take it this way. And I'm happy that you brought in the comments of Senator Seriaki Dixon, former governor of Bayelsa State, broken democracy in Nigeria. And we have a political travesty going on in Rivers State, where a military administrator is ruling a democratic state under what we call a democracy. I'm going to come to that. But let's talk about a day before that. Look, the location of the speech of the president does not matter to me. Even if he does it from his bedroom. I'll be more interested in what he will be telling Nigerians, especially when it concerns the well-being of Nigeria. So whether he does it in the morning, as he's done in the past, or he has to do it at the joint session of the National Assembly, it does not really matter to me. I already knew that this idea of a joint session of the National Assembly, when there was really nothing to clap about, these guys were so happy to talk about on your mandate we stand. So with the jamboree, we put it aside. Now, Mr. President is telling us that, look, I don't support a one-party state. Because there were a lot of contradictions in what Mr. President was saying about the opposition and the possibility of us sliding into a one-party state. And I'll explain to you a little more. You don't support a one-party state, but you are encouraging it. Is that not contradictory? I don't support it to...
Fuad, in regards freedom of movement from one party to another, as regards, you have the freedom.
I will know. I'm coming here.
Okay.
No, we know that people have weight now. I'm telling my child, do not steal. But I'm saying that when people keep something somewhere that they didn't keep, go and carry it. I can't stop you. You don't understand?
Right.
The rule is that do not steal. Let me tell you, I grew up, my grandfather trained me. And the rule was that thou shalt not fight. That was the rule he gave to us as a child. Don't battle with anybody. That was the rule he gave to us. And he said, oh, if somebody punches you outside, don't come and tell me, okay. it can never happen. But everything, but when you tell your own people that, look, go and sweep them clean, what does it mean?
Maybe there's dirt there, you have to make it clean.
You said that people are jumping out of a sinking ship because there's even no life jacket. But you are the person that
allegedly
who sank the ship. We agreed fully that it is not the job of the president to help the opposition to tidy it out. Sure. To disorganize the opposition. It is not his job to put them together, to make them to clear the state. As a true Democrat, I was telling the stage yesterday, right? Because he has never even committed one day to being a true Democrat. He was a military man, Jᴏ, who was brought out of prison to come and become president. Okay? So if we begin to see the subversion, the intimidation and coercion of the opposition that slides us into some form of civilian dictatorship, we put off. But it's looking like if what he says is always different from what he's doing. It should not have been you.
Shouldn't have been you.
It shouldn't have been you. Today, I'm still going to say it is shocking to note that under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we have a situation where an elected governor is suspended. If anybody had told me when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was in the opposition that something like that would happen under his watch, I probably would have bet my life on it. It should not have been him. I'm saying it again. We saw it under the former president, Mᴏᴜ. I don't know if we can excuse that. Not on any situation has he ever said that, no, it shouldn't be President Tinubu. What we are saying is that, look, you are using everything to continue to weaken the opposition. How does that portray him as a true Democrat? So you think that all these people are just jumping ship? They are just happy to leave their party and join the APC. Is that what you think? So you think that everybody is just happy to see physically?
Emotional.
If it is gone, would have even be better. If you can even use a life jacket to protect yourself. There are things that cannot be said on radio. That some of these people are considering to jump ship. So that is why we are saying that, look, tensions to continue to strengthen our democracy, not weaken it. What we have today is a complete erosion of everything that we know as a functional democracy. Compare what we have now to what the late Yar'Adua, former president, stood for in terms of being a true Democrat. Just in this election, I think that, look, the electoral polo, the do or die affair election of Obasanjo that we did under Mसँɪ that brought him in. But the man said, no, this is wrong. This election is wrong. But the opposition was not able to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the election was fraudulent or was not conducted properly. You are still the president. And that was why he set up elections for us to reform the electoral process. Compare that to the current president who is telling us that, no, one party state, no, it's not. I don't like it. It should not happen. No.
Right.
Sweep them clean. Go and sweep them clean.
Safe word.
So we agree with Mr. President, but
and position so far.
But again, it is what it is.
Right.
Some of us are now living the reality of past positions of people on something and their current position on the same thing. It's unfortunate.
It's always a concerning question when we see situations whereby people, talk about or give statements about a particular thing, and then contrary is what we see as regards their actions, as regards
especially when they're not in position,
the steps taken. That also had protest yesterday. protesters and APC supporters holding parallel rallies both in Lagos and Abuja. So we saw anti-government protests and counter rallies to drum up support for President Bola Tinubu in Abuja, and 6 states held yesterday in complex where President Tinubu addressed the joint session of the Senate and the House of Rep. But let's leave that. Quickly picking up the Guardian newspaper, also not just to derive from the this particular issue about the June 12th. And let's also talk about an angle which people had also raised moving forward, especially when it comes to, given the true concept of democracy and dividends of democracy. We had talks about electoral reform. I can remember reports, even a statement from the suspended Senator Akpoti Oduaha saying that democracy shouldn't just be every Nigerians, and so to say. And also the Guardian is reporting Soludo Fashola Jega advocating electoral reform. Fashola, beg your pardon, and former chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Atari Jega, has stressed the importance of upholding the rule. And then specifically, Fashola re-echoed the importance of the rule of law in Nigeria's democracy, saying that the late Moshood Abiola would have been declared the winner of the annual June 12, 1993 presidential election if the country's electoral processes were credible. And for what? Continuously, we've been having conversations about the electoral process, about electoral reforms and all of that. The need to reform the electoral process so we can uphold the true democracy we have been talking about. On having free and fair election, as we regard the June 12, 1993 election the freest and the fairest so far. And moving forward, what is your thought about that? Also, the call for reform in action, so to say, having a new constitution, blah, blah, blah. Also, that conversation has always been, over time, calling on a constitution, our loopholes in the constitution. Some are actually of the fact that the constitution is not even the problem, but, the implementation, so to say. But for what? Just quickly.
Okay, well, for electoral reform, current government of Anambra State to look at our electoral process and reform it to ensure that going forward we would have elections that the people can trust. We are not the largest democracy in the world, but it is always disheartening to see that after every general election, about 90% of all the elections that we conduct end up being decided in the court, finally decided in the court. And that also puts to question the power of the people to elect people. We've even seen in the past where people are not on the ballot and the court made them governor. We have a very fraudulent electoral process. We can continue to live in denial about it, but it's just the reality. So, like I told you about the late tomorrow, and the man that even headed that committee for electoral reform, Justice Momodu Way, God bless his soul, he passed about a few days ago. That document is there. The electoral reforms we need. Because at the end of the day, all of these politicians jumping up and down, crossing from one party to another party, the opposition saying all manner of things, would amount to nothing if we approach 2027 and conducted the election the way we conducted that for 2023. What it means is that we've wasted another 4 years. That gives us the opportunity to correct our electoral system. And that's why a lot of us are still worried that, look, since 2009, that committee gave that report, presidents after presidents that have come in have merely was not alive to be able to implement the committee report. Goodluck Jonathan, 6 years, no do anything. 8 years, Buhari, do. This is 2 years of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Why are they ignoring the report, the Justice Momodu Way's report on electoral reform? It's a reform that people can pick up. The recommendations are there for everybody to go and read.
Right.
The opposition. Yesterday I was telling you, all these Rotimi Amechi statement that I'm hungry. Nigerians will be, if Nigerians against APC. I think the opposition must understand that aligning themselves with the reality of the poor people or ordinary Nigerians at this time would not automatically win them 2027. And I'm surprised that they are not at the forefront. Later they don't coalesce or even coalesce and do more than coalition. If they are not careful, we would conduct that 2027 election, it will still be fraudulent. They will be left to go to court again and lament, and nothing will happen. So the question is, who is going to bail the cat? Where will the commitment come from?
Right.
To reform our electoral process? Who is going to bail?
The Guardian newspaper captures that very story. And we have that on page 3 in The Guardian. Also speaking about the June 12th President, a Nigerian stiffer on progress, impact 32 years out as well. From The Guardian. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. We have Guardian as well. Abacha loots men for economic empowerment, says Al-Mustafa.
Consequences for bad behavior. So that's why he can open his mouth to tell us that all the money Abacha stole, some of them that we're still recovering today, were not in his name. He didn't deposit it. Those things were meant for empowerment. Empowerment of what? Somebody was stealing the people's money, throwing it all around the world. Now, up to today, some of these monies are still coming back. And then the man that worked for him, one of the people that should be ashamed now to even tell anybody anything. The man that was dead, that was helping to scatter the whole country at that time, he's telling us that the money was not stolen. It was going for empowerment. It was some people that now did something.
Just to give context to that for those that don't know about what he said, according to the retired Major Hamza Al-Mustafa, former Chief Security Officer of late Head of State General Sani Abacha, refuted claims that the funds recovered by the Nigerian government were paid, and he asserted that the funds were intended as an economic empowerment initiative to support indigenous entrepreneurs and provide affordable goods and services similar to Libya's economic model under sanctions, and he challenged anyone to present documents signed by Abacha linking the funds to his personal bank accounts. So that's the details of the story.
So all the monies that came from France, that came from Switzerland, from all the parts of the world, those monies were meant for what? Empowerment of local
empowerment.
You know that as much as you don't like to call for violence already, or people have some picture. Really, but some of these they are saying.
Away from that, Democracy Day, okay, just summary of governors. Abiodun Yebanji, Ayedatiwa urge inclusion and accountability. That's during their reaction to the June 12th democracy we celebrated yesterday. And also, there's this from The Guardian as well. MKO Abiola's family wants June 12 institutionalized by legislation. The family of the late Chief Moshood Kashimawo Olawale MKO Abiola, that's the winner of the annulled June 12, 1993 presidential election, called Amin Abiola on behalf of the family. That's one of MKO Abiola's son, made the appeal on Wednesday during Ogun State government annual visit. And comments to that?
Well, that's what I think the family wants. They want, something institutionalized in his name, something to protect his legacy. But I think that we can't force whatever the family wants. I'm just saying that, look, we have to honor the memory of the late MK Abiola. It is to ensure that this democracy works for the people. He wanted to work for the people, further down the poverty line. It was to get more people out of poverty. And that was why Abiola was a philanthropy of note. He was a philanthropist of note. He spent his money lifting people out of poverty, helping the people. And at that point, he said, look, I'm going into government to now make sure the resources of the people work for the people. That was what brought about Hope 93. So again, nothing can honor the memories and the legacies of Abiola like the people who are in power today, ensuring that this democracy work for the people.
I'm having reports, the Vanguard to be precise, asking or disclosing that former military president General Ibrahim preparations for the launch of the book MKO Abiola Symbol of Democracy that was held in Lagos under the aegis of the Coup d'etat Initiative for Democracy, saying that IBB apology. Remember what happened during the book launch, and also even the widow of Abacha.
That book launch was not an apology. Best Nigerians are really apologized. And look, what apology can bring back those that lost their lives? Families that lost their loved ones during that period. Can any apology really bring people themselves? And it was what he did that now brought Abacha, that now makes the whole thing not complete.
That's a big question. Fouad.
So what apology can bring that, can correct that error? And it is this misadventure that we had in governance at that time that is also bringing us to this level now.
And I know how we feel about that. But regardless for what, we have to go. Also from the front page of The Guardian, one passenger survives as plane crash kills over 260 in India. We spoke about that, just mentioned that. Page 2 captures from The Guardian. Also, International Day emergency services at risk, over 80% blood shortage in hospitals. Page 6 captures varsity storm kills 6, injures 30 in Taraba. Page 38 from The Guardian also has that Aliyah accuses religious leaders of fueling insecurity in Benue. Page 38 captures that as well. And also on Abiola family seeking legislation, page 5 has that story. And that will be all. Thank you very much, Said Fawad. We have to be back for Mainland Focus. We need to step aside for commercials.